Starting your Locker natural hair journey is oh so rewarding, but can be extremely stressful when you start to consider what products to use. If that's you, then look no further. Locklicious is a Black-owned company that has created an all-natural product line for locked and loose natural crowns. The Locklicious team works hard to ensure that their products are free of parabens, phthalates, sulfates, PEG, synthetics, and other toxic chemicals you find in other products. Best of all, the products are lightweight and will not leave residue or cause buildup. Go to locklicious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
Peace, family. Vicki Dillard here with African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you give us a big thumbs up, and share this broadcast. Family, you all know that in war, the opposite side tends to use lookalikes. In order for the enemy to operate effectively without resistance, they plant folk that look like us amongst in our camp. Because if you recognize the enemy, you'll fight against the enemy. If you don't recognize the enemy, you will cooperate with the enemy. You will work with the enemy because you don't realize or recognize that that's who he is. With that being said, unfortunately, Black-looking people tend to be, the greatest resistance to Black liberation. Some of them knowingly, some of them unknowingly. In the case of one Marc Lamont Hill, Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, a professor, formerly of CNN, Fox News until he was fired from those spaces, beloved, he's allowing himself to continuously be used. And one of the things he's come out recently and said on this new Black YouTube network, social media network, is that Dylann Roof, the infamous Mzungu, who was given the death penalty for mowing down 9 Black parishioners, he came out and said he doesn't think he needs to get the death penalty.
All right, family, it is time for an unpopular opinion. Dylann Roof should not be given the death penalty. I know people are going to say, why would you say such a thing? Dylann Roof is a monster. They're going to say he walked into a church and killed all those saints. He prayed with them. He did Bible study with them. And when their heads were down praising the Lord, he killed them. He is a white supremacist who targeted Black people. How could you say he doesn't deserve the death penalty? Well, that's exactly why he doesn't deserve the death penalty, because this death penalty right now is being used to normalize it. Of course, you take the biggest monster in the world. You take somebody whose guilt is unquestioned. You take somebody who nobody likes in their right mind. You take somebody who did one of the most awful things we've ever seen or heard. And then you give him the death penalty and everybody says, okay, fine. So there are cases where the death penalty works. And then guess what happens? The death penalty is then used not just for the Dylann Roofs of the world, not just for the Boston Marathon bombers. It's far more often going to be used against Black and brown people. We cannot fall victim to the game. The death penalty has become increasingly unpopular, but we can't let moments like this become the moment where we pivot back to becoming a nation that kills.
Now, family, I don't really care where you are spiritually, philosophically, theologically, morally on this issue. When you recognize you're at war, you act like it. What do I mean? If we really believe we're at war in America, when you're in war, you shoot back if somebody shoots you. The message that we continue to send as a people when we're talking about we don't want nobody to get punishment, just like in the Botham Jean murder by Amber Geiger. When his brother came out and hugged her and rubbed her and squeezed her tight in front of the whole court and begged the judge repeatedly to hug her, we recognized, he came out and hugged her and all this kind of stuff and said before he hugged her, he didn't want her to get any jail time. Family, what you're telling our open enemy is that Black life doesn't matter and it does not require any consequence. Some of you have conflated true spirituality and misusing the scripture to turn the other cheek for those that are openly murdering you. It makes no sense. You only say that because your open enemy gave you that interpretation of the text. You didn't understand that that has to do more or less with your own brothers and sisters. You did not understand that your open enemy tampered with certain parts of the scripture in order to keep you docile and to keep you in a non-resistant state. See, when they were able to connect this notion that it was God's will for us to be enslaved, when they were able to connect it to some divine purpose, that means that you would actually cooperate in your own undoing, because you would say, oh, this is God's will. You know that's not what the text means, to turn the other cheek. You know why? Because if I gave you this analogy, if some of you knew that some disgusting pervert was molesting your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old child, you would not tell that 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old to turn the other cheek and let that sicko do it again, would you? You know that that's not what that text means in that instance. So you need to apply the same logic and reasoning to other instances where we have been abused, destroyed, murdered, and some more stuff by members of the dominant society in this country. It's time to wake up. So shame on Marc Lamont Hill for going out there saying that Dylann Roof, who mowed down 9 Black parishioners at Mother Emanuel's church some years ago, shouldn't get the death penalty. He is trying to look like he is professorial and intelligent when you look like a fool. You don't get any credit. And this is the reason why they use folk like, quote unquote, Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, even though he has his doctorate degree, and professor. I'm saying those titles causes the average mind to just give them a level of credibility. Folks automatically believe folk that are professors. You assume that they know what they're talking about. That's the danger in having these folk speaking for our people. And I want to be clear, he doesn't speak for us. The only reason Marc Lamont Hill is doing this is because he's trying to secure future biscuits down the road. And because some of you all are so weak, you don't want to fight. You are promised land rejects who refuse to do what it takes to fight for a new reality for us. So this is you being just as moist as you want to be. This is you being weak as you want to be. And this is you desiring to maintain nearness to whiteness over Black folk doing for ourselves without the meddling of our open enemy. Marc is trying to secure biscuits. And notice, Marc knows that it's mostly Black people that would be offended by this position. But he has repeatedly disrespected Black folk. He doesn't care to offend us because he knows there has been no social accountability for him disrespecting Black folk. He feels comfortable offending us. And we've got to let those of his ilk know that no more. We're going to call you out for such betrayal. Follow me on Instagram, dear family, at Vicki X Dillard. Follow me on Twitter at Dillard Vicki. Be sure to subscribe to my personal email list on my website at MissVickiTV.com. The link should be below. MissVickiTV.com. Sign up for my email list. Thank you so very much.
Diary of Dark One's Son is a look into the thoughts, opinions, and experiences of a young Black man who is wrestling with the tough task of trying to make something out of himself in a very racist and hateful environment. It covers in detail the thoughts of a man as he observes and eventually learns how to cope and deal with the world around him. It is a story of a man who, while beset with many obstacles, learns how to overcome them in order to accomplish his goals and aspirations. This book is not for the faint of heart, and the opinions that are shared in this book can be deemed very offensive to some readers. If you think that you will be offended by the opinions shared in this book, the answer is simple. This is not the book for you. This book is merely the opinions of one man, and it should be taken as such. However, if you really wish to gain insight into the thoughts of a young Black male in today's society, then look no further. Read this book. Excerpt from the book. From the chapter, Am I Visible or What? One day when I was walking home from school, I came across this other brother who was walking my way. In his eyes, I could see the sadness, the same sadness that was in mine. I knew exactly what was going through his mind too. He was feeling like an absolute nobody. How did I know, you ask? Because I was feeling the same way at the moment, right when I walked past him. Have you ever felt, if you are a black man reading this, that you were invisible to the world? Not because you want to be, but because people refuse to acknowledge your presence. Read more when you purchase this book. This book can be purchased from lulu.com.
Hello, everyone. Please make sure you subscribe to the African Diaspora News Channel app on these platforms.